Sawtooth Day, what's happening, y'all? This is my dirty boy handles. I'll do a video of that. The ongoing M3 thing. So everybody has an opinion one way or the other. So what I'm about to say, don't take that as like his word. It's just some findings. Steve, not Scotch and Things, but Steve, I don't want to say his last name because I don't know if he lets everybody know his last name or not. A cool dude that watches the videos decided to send me some stuff to help me make a judgment call on it. So I guess M3 was, it depends on how you look at things, right? So I never really knew of Alex Steingraber or Steinberger. Well, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name, bud. I never really heard of him. I've seen some of his knives and didn't know they were his, but I never heard of him personally until kind of this, I guess, thing with Kevin started with him. And then like I've heard a little bit, it's Kevin mentioned some left EDC, mentioned a couple things about him, but I guess they put all that to rest and they're cool, they're on talking terms or whatever else. But I've watched a couple of his live things on Instagram. I don't know if he has YouTube or not. I never even looked. And a few things that Transparent Knives put about the whole M3 Tactical Make in America, not Make in America thing. Y'all know I handled that knife. I did not disassemble it, even though Kev said I could. For me, on that kind of knife, like I didn't really see the point, to be honest with you, at the time. Like, I was taking it for word that it was an American-made knife and taking it word that is a prototype. I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want to do anything with it. You all know I don't have a ton of feel with Chinese knives. I've handled quite a few, but like I've really owned a whole bunch of them, like one or two here and there that, you know, usually like Jason Brass Brigades made his with Best Tech. So I had, you know, those for a while. Those are given away. I don't really possess anything like that or really keep it in easy knife meetups. I get to handle stuff like that. So like my judgment of this is definitely Riyadh or Best Tech, I could never do that. Not in a million years. All I could judge was the feel of the knife, how it felt as far as like the slictitude, you know, whatever, the fit and the finish of those. A lot of those Chinese knives are on a just completely different level than what everybody else's knives are. It just kind of are. Like, you don't really see machine marks on a lot of their stuff. Most of their stuff, actually. You don't see any machine marks where, you know, generally speaking, you can, if you find an American knife, I'm just going to pick up the heater because it's sitting right here. You can see tool marks. You see the tool marks in here. You see exactly where the end mill was. You see tool marks in here. You can see the tool path. You know, all these little striations and stuff. Like most of the Chinese knives, they get rid of all that stuff. Like they got enough people, somebody can sit there and turd polish that thing until the cows come home and it don't really matter. So what I'm about to tell you is basically, I've never made a knife. I think everybody knows that. I've made some parts for knives, but I've never made a knife. So I don't have any knife industry insider stuff. The information I'm about to give you is just more or less like, as I've done production machining for years and years and years. I've done the fabrication into things, you know, I've done job shop stuff. Most of the stuff that comes through a job shop, an American job shop, is an American engineered part. You occasionally get, you know, a European part. Rarely anything Asian because they're going to make it themselves, right? Unless someone's retrofitting something for an Asian part. And you get to see repeatable behaviors from engineers. One of which is nobody really, at least from the modern times, from the vast majority of my career, nobody really programs stuff and makes stuff in metric. Like, can it be converted and made it that way? Sure. But if you're an American company, especially if you don't know much about manufacturing, why would you do opposite and go make stuff in metric versus standard? I'll get into the details here in a second. But let's just start with the basic obvious. Steve said he was sending a Best Tech box. I was like, why would he send a Best Tech box? I just didn't really understand what he was saying when he was sending a Best Tech box until I saw the M3 box. These are identical. And I could take the bottom of one and put it right in the other one. It is literally the same box. Coincidence? Don't know. You make the call. We'll just start with there, okay? But it literally, like, here, I'll do it. Top of this one off. Top of that one. Goes right on here. Goes right on here. Anybody question that? Same box, right? Exactly the same box. Okay? All right. I should have brought my tools to take it apart. But this is the folder. One of the folders in question is this CCT M3 Tactical. This knife right here. Okay, so comparing this one to the one that Lefty had made, or someone made for a lefty, whatever, well, however you want to look at that. It's really a kind of different knife. It's not even in the same realm of the same knife. It doesn't feel the same. The detent's not the same. So like, I know this is a little bit older, and I think this is probably his first folder, but the detent's nothing to speak of. It flips, nothing great. Lefty's had a good detent. So whoever did the work on that one, even if it was the same company, clearly, you know, focused on the detent more so than they did on this one. And also the machining in general, but you don't find machine flaws on this one either. I'm not really seeing anything like, oh my God, that sticks out, like that should have been done differently. Like, if you look at the knife, there's no flaws, you know, that machine was. You don't see tooling marks in the jimping or anything else. You don't see any water jet marks. You see tooling marks where they leave tooling marks, but that's intentional. I'm looking at inside this relief. I don't know if you can shadow in there or not. You can see a little bit of mill marks in there, but it's honestly where they intended to leave it. It's not like, so as y'all know, or may not know, when I made these scales, I made them in a day, 2 days maybe. It wasn't hard to make them, but getting the finish I want took me almost a freaking month. And I still have stuff to learn. I have a ton to learn about finishing. I'm a machinist, not a finisher. And that's a completely different subject. At least for me anyhow, like from my standpoint, my expertise lie in making the part, making them accurate. But as far as the finishing of the actual part to make it to where something like you guys would buy, that was a whole different learning curve for me. So mad respect to all the knife makers that like know exactly what they want to be able to execute it off the machine. And then, yeah, you mad props for me. Okay, so we'll just start at some of the basic stuff, right? So I did disassemble this. And basically what I'm getting at is there's so much stuff that's metric on this thing that I don't really understand how, if it was an American-made knife, they would program it all and make it all metric. Matter of fact, let me pause this. I'm going to blow this thing apart and I'm going to go over it in detail. Hang on one second. All right, so now we got this thing blown apart so you can actually see what I'm talking about when I start looking at this thing. So we'll just start with the crib, or the pivot screw. So the diameter of this pivot screw is 10 millimeters, this way right here. This is a metric screw that is 3 M3 by 0.5 threads, okay? I've never seen an American knife use that thread, but hey, maybe there is one. The pocket clip screw goes through the pocket clip, through this scale, into this backspacer screw right over here, or this spacer. I've never seen a backspacer from an American knife that had these barrel spacers in it, okay? The screw size for this one is M2.5 times 0.45. All these body screws of that thread. The shaft itself, the backspacer shaft, whatever you want to call it, is 4 millimeter shaft, neck down to a 3.5 millimeter shaft. So if I can see into this camera here, so see how it's neck down on both sides. So all standard, I mean all metric, not standard dimensions. Just, you know, like I was saying, as a production machinist, you don't generally see that from American manufacturing. I can't say that you can't convert that and make that, because I've made stuff in metric before. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it's unlikely that an American manufacturer is going to design their knives in metric, my standpoint. Okay, stop pin, once again, 4 millimeter shaft, neck down to 3 millimeter shoulders on both sides. The pivot itself is a 10 millimeter. Oh, I'm sorry, hang on, where is it? I got all the stuff written down off screen here. So pivot screw, stop pin, replace. Oh, so the bearings, I don't know about the bearings. I don't think I wrote what size that was. But these bearings, I think, are aftermarket. Y'all tell me. I think, because this looks like a 250 ID. I'm putting where I can focus here. 250 ID. I think it's 419 or 420. I can't remember. OD on this one, and they're 16th bearings. So I believe, looking at the way it looks, I believe those are replacement bearings, because the what do you call that, bearing race, that's just a little, this piece in here is 240 thou. So the shaft itself is 236, I believe. Did I not write down what size it is? I can't convert metric that quick in my head. It's 236 in that one. So I believe that the bearings are replacement bearings, and they kind of look like they're a little loose in there. But you can see that everything in this is metric. Looking at the fit and finish in the inside of this thing, like, I've just never seen an American knife constructed this way. It's all hearsay, all just opinionated. But you can kind of look at this and think about like I don't know, like a ZT or a Spyderco or any of those other brands. You don't see stuff like this. Now, could this guy have taken a bunch of Chinese knives apart and reverse engineered it and made this knife? Sure. What's the likelihood of that? So to kind of conclude, it's kind of what everybody suspected. Like, everything on this knife is metric. You know, the fit and finish are not what you'd expect on an American-made knife. They're more what you expect on a Chinese knife. So if I was a guessing man, I'd guess this CCT was not made here. Purely opinion. You draw your own opinion of what you want on that. And I believe I heard everybody pretty much say that at this point they pretty much figured that the M3 was important to folders, at least some of the folders. And all I want by doing this, or all I hope to come out of this, I want positivity to come out of this. Like, the positivity for me, I discovered what I already knew about transparent knives. I didn't really ever watch his videos, and you know, I knew of his work. He just basically builds knives that don't really, or not, he don't build the knives, but blades, I guess. That generally, I'm not drawn to the knives that he builds them for. So he seems like he knows what the hell he's doing. I've heard nothing but good things about the guy, and from what I hear, like he's got a logical mind that I kind of agree with 99% of what I've heard him say thus far. I'm the same with Alex Steingraber. Did I say his name right? I'm sorry if I didn't, dude. But yeah, mad props to both those guys. So for me, like, I got exposure to both those guys, and that's the best thing I take out of this M3 situation is getting to know those two of the dudes from social media, which, you know, I agree with. Like, most of what they're saying is stuff that I've thought myself. So I take that as cool. I wish M3 would just come clean. Like, that's all I think anybody wants, is just them to come clean. So I'm kind of done with it at this point too. I know other people have said they're done with it. And at this point, I don't really want to, like, I'm not taking anything back from what I said about the knife. So if anybody wants to put words in my mouth, I'm not. The knife was finished flawlessly. The detent on it was awesome. If that knife was produced in the United States, I guarantee they could sell as many as they want. 100%. The fact that it's Chinese, like, honestly, dude, like, if it's a good knife. Like, if you're a person that doesn't care where your knife's made, you know, imported from or whatever else, and they decide to go through, they find out, hey, it's Best Tech, and they go to Best Tech, and Best Tech makes the same thing, like, buy it. It's a damn good knife. I recommend it. Like, I think anybody that handled it all said they were good. Everybody said they were good. The whole, you know, Hoback fucked it up for everybody, man. And so now everybody's like shy about American made, not American made. So everybody's questioning everything, which kind of sucks, man. But it is what it is in this modern world. Anybody try to get over everybody any way they can. So I'm going to shut up now. Draw your own conclusions. That's just my 2 cents. You can see where I'm at on it. All right, then. That'll be cool. Later.